and me and Ina have discussed this at length in the past, and it's like, especially with I mean, boys as well, but especially girls are just sexually abused at such an alarming rate. It's like it's unspoken, but it's like it's so common. It's disgusting all over the world, not just Botswana. What is a little bit more unique to Botswana as opposed to here in the States is the support for the abuse. So in the States, the support for the abuse often happens where the parent either knows or or at least suspects something is happening and doesn't do anything about it. And the reason why they don't do anything about it is because either it's a family member and they don't want to get the family member in trouble and they don't want to put a stain on the family name, or it's a boyfriend, and they don't want to scare the boyfriend away, because they want love so badly that they turn a blind eye to the abuse. I think in Botswana, from what I'm seeing in this video, added to that is poverty, meaning that besides the emotional support that a lady would get from her man, she's also getting financial gifts. And so she's more quickly to turn a blind eye and almost encourage the child to do such a thing. And so to really handle the problem, you would have to handle, as far as that's concerned, you need to handle the poverty of it, to take away the incentive to go along with it. That's how you're going to be able, I mean, I can't see an answer for that because, poverty can be very, all over the place and you can't control it. So the other thing you can do is to do what Ina suggested, which is to train the girls to basically see grooming techniques. And I love the fact that you call it flowers. It was great, and especially when the guy took the flower and threw it under the table. And he's like, basically, it's like, you realize that she's being groomed. That's a grooming technique. So the only solution other than financial, which can't be done, is to at least train kids early to know when to see the signs that, this is happening, and to hopefully stop it, stop it on their end, because sometimes they don't get the support from the parents, unfortunately. I will tell a personal story for myself. I have decided to talk to my child about this type of stuff at the age of, I think 3 or 4, actually. I think around 4 years old. And a lot of people, told me, oh, that's too young, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, a lot of time, that's the age when it starts. And so I'd rather her hear from me and see the signs like, yo, be sure you tell me if they threaten you, whatever it is, don't fall for any of those tricks. Make sure, and it's a minor miracle to get any child to become the age of 18 without having some form of abuse. Anyway, I'm long-winded. Thank you for listening to my quotes and suggestions.
Thank you. And Paulette, you have your hand raised. We cannot hear you, Paulette. No. Better.
Okay. In New Jersey, we have an alarming rate of what is being identified as trafficking. And trafficking is not just someone snatching up a kid off the street. It's being done in the home, also, by in the schools, and it's been going on for almost 20 years. Even at the time when I was working, when I was part of the New Jersey State PTA board, we were finding this in all different culture, in all different communities. But an alarming rate is really high in Newark. And I really, when looking at this film, I was like, oh wow, I should have had this group of people on this call to be able to see this. So Jenny, we got to talk, because we have, at the nonprofit that I'm part of, we set up a trauma center, and that is what we're definitely focusing on is to help navigate these problems where families don't want to go to the authority because they're scared their kids is going to be taken out of their home. So we have this set up with social workers that's in their community that could help them and navigate and who to talk to. But this is such an important conversation. Like last night, the conversation we had, this is a global problem. And what, I'm so excited and so happy that Jenny brought this film to us, which she did last time when she brought the one on age. She's bringing some remarkable films. Thank
Yes,
you. And
truly, she's been bringing remarkable films. But I really wanted to mention something that, I guess we didn't really talk about it was kind of touched on, but the fact of the matter is that a baby's going to be born into the situation. And that is a whole nother abuse. Like, you're born into a situation where you're going to be marked or seen as a child of rape. And that's a whole, I haven't really heard too many people talk about that. What happens, particularly in cultures where there is rape and children are born, and then they're almost like the scarlet letter, or they're not looked upon as being worthy. How do we prepare the mother to love that child? How do we prepare that child to be loved? And how do we prepare the community to wrap? I know the symbolism of her wrapping her arms around the child, but in reality, that child is going to be born. So that was another thing that I was interested in hearing more about. But right now we have Amakuhu. Did I say your name wrong? I hope not. Amakuhu Elaine Lloyd. Did it right.
Queen Mother Imaku.
It's a beautiful name. I'm sorry I messed it up. Imaku. Because I'm so used to calling you, the other name, but last night you let me know.
I'm not going to kill you. You can call me Queen Mother. It's okay.
Okay. Imaku, we would like to hear your thoughts.
This was powerful. I applaud the filmmaker. This is why we become filmmakers, in order to tell these very necessary stories. I came on not knowing what the subject matter was, and right away it kicked me in the gut because it hit home on so many different levels. I found out who my real grandmother was later in life. I was always told that auntie was auntie, and I found out that she was my grandmother. She had my father when she was 13. And I don't even know if my father knew that auntie was really her mother, his mother, which meant that my grandfather basically raped her at 13. And it's ironic because I look just like her. She just passed away last year. And these stories happened over and again in our family. And in fact, my own mother gave me to a man when I was 3, and set me up in different situations where I had to fight men off, where she set me up in the Sunday school room in the church after church was over, with a deacon and also with a trustee in the church, where I had to fight them off when I was teenager after I started developing. And highly traumatizing. And while my mother also had been molested when she was 9 years old, she thought nothing of it. And these are stories that we are now, over the last basically 30 years, because of Oprah being so candid about her experience, are starting to explore more candidly in our culture. So this is still a fresh wound. And we have not gotten it right for how we're dealing with how to heal ourselves from it. This is not just an issue with women and with girls. This is also an issue with boys. And Tyler Perry has done some exploration of it in his films. I know he takes a big pounding because of his Medea films, but the fact is that he takes a chance and explores these very sensitive issues that need to be explored as a filmmaker. And so for that, I applaud him. So I say we need to continue telling these stories. This is the reason that I pick up a camera and that I interview people as a documentarian, and also that I continue to tell people to just share, find a way to tell the story, not just from a documentary standpoint, but also to as a storyteller, to share, so that we can get it right and figure out how we can heal ourselves. I mean, I mentioned yesterday that, and I'll wrap it up here, that my mother died from COVID. And I have to say also, just to tie this in, I ended up having to, well, I'll leave that out, but you can imagine what it was like for me having, as a minister, having to do the last rites over my mother who died from COVID, and having no resolution in what happened. You know, I mean, this is just no healing in it, no apology. This is just the way that it was. And this is also part of the healing process that many of us are dealing with, from our people who are leaving us and are not getting our healing, not only from not having our rituals, but also from having unresolved issues like this. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you so much for selecting this film to be shown, and let us continue to work on this healing process for our young people, but also for our adults. Sister Monica, you're mentioning of the doula process, having a doula for our children. It should not just be for our children, because listen, I've had some major therapy throughout my life because of what has happened to me. And so we also need it's as a multi-generational process, because so many of us in different stages of healing. And so that's a wonderful suggestion, and let's explore that further for all of us who are in our different processes of healing.
Yes, and there was another component. I mean,
Thank you for sharing that story, by the way, that personal story.
Yes,
thank you very much for having that courage.
Thank you very much. There was another part in the story. I mean, there's so many layers. I mean, Jenny, you really tapped into the thing. Another layer there was when the fact that a lot of times when you are underprivileged and you are living in poverty, you think that people who are educated know more than you and they are more worthy than you. And this teacher was able to manipulate the children because he was a teacher. He was appeared to be a little more superior than maybe the average person in their community. And he used that to manipulate them. It could be a police officer, it could be a teacher, it could be a minister, and people who take that kind of power over others. That was another thing I saw in the film. But I wanted Stepping Stone.
But if you can, but let me just mention this. See, here was my situation. I came from a noteworthy family. That's what made it even more difficult for me. People knew my family. People know my family. I'm a Lloyd, okay? And then also with my mother, I'm a Whitley. All right? I mean, that's people know, if people know my mother across the country because of her business and also because of her standing in the church. And then also I come from a political family. That made it even more, I was trapped. And of course, as a kid, you have no language for what is going on with you. So, and then when I remember in school, When I found out in elementary school there was someone that I could talk to just say, hey, my family's jacked up. And I couldn't even explain about what was going on with me, but just try to get just to be able to share my feelings. And my mother found out. She didn't speak to me for months. So I was just trapped, you know? So it's not even a matter of economic status all the time either. I just wanted to be able to share that.
I'm sure it's not at all, not just that. So I wanted to Stepping Stone. Stepping Stone, I can't see the name of it right here, but if you can speak a little bit as to what type of documentaries and films and advocacy your organization looks for and that kind of thing, if you can tell us a little bit about it, because I noticed that at the end of the film that this is you all were the producers, the executive producers of the film. Have you done other films, documentaries before? And, you know, I just wanted you to talk a little bit about it, Lisa.
Thanks. We have not, this is our first big documentary. We have done a small infomercial, which we can actually share with you also. And it was more about the importance of reporting because of the long-term effects it has on a child. And so that's where we focused a lot. As far as our other advocacy efforts, they're mostly done at grassroots level. And just when you were talking about the doula, we have a different kind of system. What we have done is we have trained, you know, grandmothers are the core of society there. They are the village keepers, I might say. And so what we have done is we've trained about 735 grandmothers in different groups within just one of our districts there. And they are kind of we teach them how to help identify gender-based violence in general, issues on child protection, and they kind of are our eyes on the ground and help. And we're really training them to learn more about social media and what to look for because that's new to them. But I'll give you just one example of what we've done with them is there was, you go up a hill to go to one of the primary schools, and on the way up that, it was in a bushy area, and a lot of the girls were being raped on the way to school. So the grandmothers kind of made a human wall along the way and stopped, you know, the perpetrators basically from coming there. And then they marched into the police and said, we have to have ongoing monitoring in this area. So that was an example of how they're really working in the community. And we are trying to build their skills to help identify child sexual abuse. But what happens oftentimes, as I mentioned before, is it gets swept under the carpet and it's silenced because of the economic issues that you all pointed out. And so that's what the other thing we do a lot of is we are providing questions to members of parliament to be able to table in cabinet. And so we are doing behind the scenes kind of getting questions up into the government. And another thing we're doing is training the media on how to make sure that they're reporting correctly and not causing more secondary victimization through their reporting. And of course, the parenting program that couples this film, we have a parenting program where we're really trying to infuse positive parenting, but through that, really making people understand and using this film as the platform to make them understand that it will ruin your child's life. You know, if you don't start reporting and doing something about it and preventing it also. So not just making it so that we're acting after the fact, but really preventing it in the community. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, I mean, what a wonderful model for a film with a message and with, you know, the whole educated component. You have so much going along with this film. I mean, I applaud you, Jenny, really, I applaud you. I can't tell if people are raising their hand from before. Oh, you're raising, Monica?
Yes, I totally agree with educating, empowering the community with the tools. I'm an advocate. I am a survivor and a thriver of domestic violence, and I have repurposed my experience to going out and educating people in the community lawyers, doctors, social workers, teachers, so that when you have this human being in front of you, you can understand the nuances and as well some of the signs, right? I think there's a lot of power in that as well, because the different systems that people navigate through in their life, if those people are empowered with information to be able to see, right? Because one of the things that the trauma robs is the invisibility. Can't see yourself from the inside, right? The victim. So it's important to really make that visibility happen through empowering. And really, when you're giving this information, there's also a sense of accountability, right? Correct? If I don't know, then I don't know. But when I give these stakeholders, these community stakeholders, these people that stand in position to be in human service, I give them this information. There's also a task attached to that, right? Correct, in order to make these changes happen. But I think also is very imperative if we look at the root of it, right? The first form of domestic violence was slavery. It has every element. And if we have all these systems all over the world that was built on that premise, and these systems have not changed, these are the generational impacts of it as it continues to transport from one generation to the next because of lacking of the holistic healing. Sometimes the victims become criminalized because the pathways of masking and medicating their pain leads them to other victimization that they become criminalized when it is acknowledged. So I'm very happy that this film is current and present, but I'm also very, I feel privileged to be a part of this conversation, to talk about the other layers and the things that intersect and coexist in these circumstances that we all have I guess, for a greater humanity, right? A sense of responsibility to go out and talk about these things where it can be impactful for change.
Thank you, thank you. And so now Jenny, then Micaiah Galaxy, and then I don't have my, where did I put my glasses? Then Mahaluku. So Jenny, Micaiah Galaxy, and Mahaluku. I still can't. What skill Cheerwa? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
So, I wanted to follow up first on the question you asked Lisa about how this film was made. And I really want to acknowledge that Stepping Stone took a risk with us to do this. Film is not what they have traditionally done, but this is really an add-on component of the intervention work that they're already doing. And I will just say hats off to Stepping Stone for finding funding for us to do this, because they were able to source funding from the European Union, from the Stephanie LaCroix Foundation, and from another organization called Facet, so that we could make the film. And they really did go out on a limb and take a risk with us. And for that, I just want to say thank you, Stepping Stone. But one of the most important things that I think a lot of you guys have alluded to is this concept of dialogue and communication. And I know you talked about your granddaughter being able to speak about this. And I think that that is one of the most important things from this film, is that Stepping Stones has created this dialogue kit so that the film can go out to communities and start to allow people to have these conversations. When we were doing focus groups to create some of the characters and to explore some of the issues in the films, we worked with young people and they were happy to talk with us until we started talking about child sexual abuse. And then everybody was like, oh, that happens in that other district. Oh, that happens in that other village. And people would just look away and not want to talk about it. So I think that that's one of the important things from this film, is that it does provide that platform for people to actually start talking about the issues. And I think one other thing that I really want to say is that one of the biggest challenges we had in making this film is that child abuse is such a ubiquitous, common problem that as a filmmaker, we had to be very cognizant that whenever we would shoot like the rape scene or the scene where the grandmother is yelling at her child, that there was a strong chance that one of our actors or one of our crew members had experienced some sort of abuse. And I think that while we all have an appreciation for this type of work, it really is important to recognize that the cast and crew who, particularly the actresses and the actors, and we have one of them, Marcia, also known as Bonolo, who played Rory, is on our panel. And these guys go through a lot when they put themselves in these situations. And I want to thank Stepping Stone for actually having a counselor on set for us, who could help cast and crew if there were issues that came up while we were filming. So yeah, thank you.
That's great. That's great. But you know, as you was talking, you did remind me of something here in the States. I work closely with Bronx Community College, and in terms of the students there, it's been mentioned to me that a lot of the students that they're college age come into some of the programs and they are subject to abuse because there's no age limit as to when you could get a beating in some cultures. You know, the mother feels you didn't get a good grade and you are 19, 20 years old and you still can get a whoop, you know, a whooping or a beating, and the cultural differences, you know, are there. So this topic is, I definitely need to see if we can bring it to the college as well, but we'll talk about that later. But Makaya Galaxy, you can unmute yourself. What's going on? We can't understand you.
Good morning to my video, and okay, and then good afternoon to everybody who's listening from the African continent, and hello to everybody else wherever they might be. Thank you so much to Stepping Stones and the European Union and Facet and all the organizations that pretty much gave us the support that we needed to be able to film this. And there are a lot of pertinent issues that have been raised about the film. I can't cover all of them, but what I can do is tap into the sort of areas that I observed and the sort of areas that I think we may need to challenge ourselves to change. And Jenny mentioned a valid point about some of us having gone through some of these abuses. I'm a survivor myself. So there were moments during filming where I would need a moment to recover from my own rape experiences and kind of sort of have to play back what was going on at that point and have to deal with what Ruru was trying to express on camera and having to have the confidence to deliver what was given to me in script in the most natural process possible. But what really, really raises an eye for me, I think, is the challenge where we have a communication breakdown between generations, where even if I was to go, for example, to an aunt or to a grandmother or to a mom, irrespective of the age difference, where we don't know how to communicate intergenerationally. So the challenge we tend to have is that the older generation doesn't know how to pick up the signs of a child who is being abused. And much the same, a child who's being abused doesn't know how to pick up the signs of which parent or which older person is a safe haven for them to be able to express their hurt or to be able to share the kind of traumas that they've been through. So I think this ties into another issue that was raised now about how, slavery was the first point of GBV that took place back in the day. And this is the process that I think we have to try and unlearn. You know, it all trickles onto issues to do with apartheid and all these other different homicides and all these other different experiences that people have been through, but they've never been able to heal. So I think in our culture, we've never been given the privilege to understand trauma. We don't know what trauma is. We don't know how to identify what trauma is. That is the first thing. And the second thing is we don't know how to identify what grieving is. So you find that usually, if for instance now somebody in a family passes away, the way that the family deals with grief is not in unison. So you'll find a child who sits in silence in their room and they wail away. You'll find an uncle who sits there and they're quiet, but they're hurting. Everybody's going through the same process, but everybody's so isolated in the same unit. And this is how I think a lot of the times most of these issues are missed in our society, in bridging the gap between people who are going through this and people who are actually the perpetrators, and all the different reasons why all these issues take place, right? So I think if we can try and unlearn the old socialization patterns, trying to teach our elders how to unlearn the process of saying, because in our culture, there's a typical saying that, which when directly translated means you're a child or you're too young to understand your surroundings, or you're too young to be able to relate or even give an opinion about what is going on. And that is where I think the root problem is, that kind of causes a divide in how we can communicate openly about our experiences, let alone the traumatic ones. So I just wanted to say thank you very much. And I hope that our story can allow us to be able to, when somebody else sees that pain and that grief and all the channels that are provided in terms of following the systems in place, someone in the society who's able to listen and hear you out. That is all for now. Thank you so much for the privilege to speak.
Thank you for your comment. And next, Chawa. You can open your mic.
Yeah, it's quite refreshing to have a conversation with different people from around the world, where we discuss pertinent issues that we passionately. I sense a lot of passion when we discuss these issues. These are from concerned people. Everybody has said quite a lot, but one of the things that I've come to realize locally is it takes a lot of understanding of the effects of abuse, of sexual abuse. And we are right now having adult parents who have been victims of abuse and have not dealt with them. And there is a natural expectation that they can be able to support their children, who in turn become victims of this abuse. And it's quite difficult for them. One of the things that we still are not having here locally is support groups for victims of abuse, where they could relate with other people, and heal from talking to other people who have gone through the same process. And we don't have that. The closest we have is through psychosocial support, where you come across psychologists, and that's only afforded to a few who can deal with the expenses of seeing a professional psychologist. So those are some of the challenges that we come across as an organization, and trying to deal with this big issue of supporting victims of abuse. As part of our work in lobbying, we have been able to influence a lot of amendments in statutes to be more friendly, to be more specific in addressing issues related to child protection. One of the things we're still struggling to deal with is criminalizing grooming. As much as we have highlighted it in the docudrama, grooming is still not an offense locally. Grooming becomes an offense and changes a name once a child has been abused.
Yeah,
and that's
but you did exactly the same, right? 5, then 3, then 2 at the bottom. 4, yeah. I mean 5 at the top. Yeah.
So we have engaged government. We have had this conversation about, please, let's legalize grooming. We were not successful, but I still want to believe that it's open, that we will engage more and have grooming recognized as an offense. Somebody spoke about poverty, and before you passed it on to someone else, I forgot the names, but one lady then said she was from a socially well, an economically well family. And this is one of the challenges when you come to deal with abuse, sexual abuse. It carries so many dynamics. It can be a pressure for children born in good, supportive homes to speak out about this, because the image about those particular families is always a good one. And sometimes people are just too busy to pause and engage a child and listen to them about what could be happening in their lives. Equally so with those that are absent. Somebody spoke about trafficking, and I need to appreciate that. As much as I've been doing human rights and child protection work for many years, I always appreciate conversations with fellow activists and fellow professionals, because you keep appreciating different perspectives towards abuse. When somebody spoke about trafficking, we see a lot of sexual trafficking where families expose their children to abusers, when it's something that is systematically organized and sort of endorsed by elderly people, exposing their children or children under their care to being abused. And children can see this, and it makes it difficult for them to come out and speak against what happened to them, speaking it to someone or their caregiver who they know were very negligent to them and making them more vulnerable to abuse. So it's such a big animal that we still have to deal with. And Botswana has a long way to address the different dynamics around child sexual abuse. And I'm hoping that through the showing of this docudrama today, it's an opportunity for us as an organization to build stronger networks, learn from other people in this dialogue today, to learn about the amazing work that they're doing on the other side and what is it that we can learn. And thank you so much for everyone who spoke before me.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this powerful film. We are going to wrap it up. Does anyone have any last words? I can't, like I said, if your hand is raised, I don't know whether it was raised from before, but if the filmmakers want to have some last words, thank you for bringing this film. It's very important, and I think it is a universal issue that we all need to really think about in society in general, and particularly in ways that we can support each other across the continent, and helping to reshape the way things are done when it comes down to this abuse and neglect and all the other things that go along with it. So this was great. I wish we could do more like this, more. Let's just talk until we figure these things out. I mean, it just so happens that I myself worked in the area. I also wrote about, I had a play about, abuse, rape, that was called A Secret Lies Inside My Sister's Womb. I've studied this. This is something that I genuinely have an interest in. And I think that, it is, there's a lot of wounds. There's a lot to uncover. And, optimistically, the fact that this film does exist shows a shift. The fact that we are talking about it is a shift, is a dent. So things are changing, it's just an ongoing thing that will always, some things you'll never ever stop talking about and trying to improve on. And these are just one of them that we will have to always be on top of this. It's gotten better in some areas, but it's there, So if anyone else has something to say, let me know, because we're getting ready to close up this session. And we thank you so much for bringing our flowers to us. And I love the way you did the flowers, by the way. I was like, wow, so many ways to make that point in such a, I love when people use abstractions and, just symbolisms, and it meant a lot. And it made you think about how fragile children are, you know, how fragile they are, you know. And when she broke the vase and the mother went to not run after her daughter, but she went to gather the flowers up in the broken vase when her daughter was broken. And, you know, all of that, you know, making those little subtle statements about how broken she was to go to the vase. Like, I got to keep these flowers together. But her daughter's running outside because a man just tried to rape her. So great work.
So thank you, Ina. I just want to say that, you know, we created the film so that people could see it and so that people could talk. So if anyone has ideas for how the film can be used in other platforms. So I know, Paulette, you have some connections at local universities. But if any of you all have suggestions for us for ways that the film could actually be used to start generating some of this dialogue, please do reach out, because for us, getting the film seen is what's most important so that people can talk, but also from just a financial perspective, if we get the film out, getting people talking about the issues, it's easier for us to leverage funding for the next one.
Well, I do want to say this.
yeah.
I want to say this. Your film is in our festival, and of course, one of our goals with the Kwanzaa Film Festival is to find distribution. What this year, I'm really asking the filmmakers to really hold me to task. Let's have the meetings with the distributors that are already looking at the films from the festival. We have 3 distributors looking, and you know, that way your film is out there and there's a place it could be housed in, what have you. So make sure that we have that meeting, Jenny, where I get the different distributors' arms on the phone with you, and you know, find out what they're offering and what it can offer the project. So that's important to Kwanzaa Film Festival. That was always offered, but somehow I think after we finish the festival, everybody just kind of goes their own way. And then the distributors, it's like, I thought you had filmmakers who wanted to a distribution deal to get the film out there. And I'm like, I do, but I'm trying to grab them back in. So I want to just say, it's really important that we have that meeting. Okay, definitely. Very important.
I do have one technical suggestion for the film. If you could put like for the subtitling, you know, I have old eyes. If you could put like a gray box underneath the subtitle, because sometimes when it was too much light, you couldn't read all the words. So that, I think that would be just helpful. That's my only suggestion. But other than that, it was great. Everything was great. And thank you, Ina, for bringing this.
That's our tech person, okay? We've done a film together as well, you know. So thank you guys. Have a great evening. A Baragani is Nia, the day of purpose.
Yeah.
And you know, and light your candle and enjoy your day. And tomorrow's New Year's Eve. So, you know, ask for what you want, and I'm sure you will receive it. And just have.
I know. I'm sorry to cut in, but I want you to remind everybody they can go on Festi, right?
Yes, I put it in the if you want to save the notes, I put it in the notes. I thought I did. I don't see it now. Okay, I'm gonna put it in the notes, and you can save the chat where you can go and see the rest of the films. Please support us. And Jenny will have a few films because we're doing the best of Kwanzaa Film Festival. So some films from the past are going to be online also. So Kwanzaa, oh, let me put my glasses on. This is, you know, we don't want to admit that we need these glasses, but I do. Kwanzaa Film Steve.com, and it will be up for 30 days.
Is it going to be a marketplace?
Excuse me? Excuse me? She just froze.
She's frozen, yeah.
Is it gonna be a marketplace?
A marketplace? I'm working on that because a lot of my vendors are really want to put their stuff. So there is a marketplace on Festive. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. So great, great, great. So everyone have a good evening and I'll talk to you about that. So enjoy your Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ina.
Goodbye.
Talk to you soon, Jenny. Definitely, we got to talk. Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Okay, I'm trying to save this show in folder. And download. Oh, this. Hi, Linda. Dana.
I'm having trouble saving the chats. I gotta figure it out.
Me
I do not see the
too.
buttons. And I keep
Okay,
trying, but
see, it said it's like 3 little buttons on the side.
yeah, I go to those 3 buttons and then I go to chat or I
What?
go to meeting settings. Then I see 3 more buttons and they just show me a whole bunch of smiley faces.
I don't even know.
Go to,
Okay.
go here in the area where the messages, where it says participants, and then you see chat. You see chat.
Okay, I'll go to participants. Okay,
So, and see where you see chat. Hit that, and then at the bottom of that page on the right-hand side, you'll see 3 little dots right near that happy face.
Now I'm in participants and I don't see any dots in participants.
No, go
No,
to
no,
chat.
don't go to chat. Go to next to the chat.
Okay, go to chat. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, I got to chat.
Next to the happy face, you see 3 little dots.
Next to that little happy face.
Oh, okay.
Now hit that. And then the very top one that says save chat, hit that.
Wait a minute. I'm okay. I'm in chat. I see the smiley faces. Okay.
Hit the
Hit
3
the
dots.
3 dots.
Oh, wait, I don't see the 3 dots now.
On
Let
the
me go
right-hand side.
Let me go back. Okay, I'm in chat. Wow.
You see at the bottom of the page.
Yeah, I see the 3 dots.
Hit that word, and it,
Okay.
and you don't see save chat
Hold
or save.
on, let me go. I have to keep looking for it. I don't see it. I just see a whole bunch of icons.
Oh, did you hit that? Did you hit the happy face? You are in chat, right? Don't hit the happy face. Go to the 3 dots and hit that where it says more. And then it'll have a list of things. They'll have like save chat or how to save.
I don't see it.
Well, what I'll tell Ina is to, if she saved it on her computer, she could send it to you probably.
Yeah,
Ina, can I send you an email?
Oh, okay.
I'll
Thank
send
you.
it to you, Linda. That's what I'll do.
Okay.
Okay, from today and tomorrow.
That was a
Yes.
great session.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really good.
And
That
this
was
has been going on for decades. I remember in the mid-70s when we were working with some programs in the San Francisco Bay Area in Berkeley. I mean, all with some youth, and they were all coming forward with these terrible stories
yes.
of oral sex growing up, and it's just, and what I was trying to find out, if we could get to the great grandmothers, how far back did we find these stories? I was even trying to probe my mother's mind when she was like in her 90s to see if I could get some stories out of her. But
It would
there's, we could even get the 90-year-olds. What
Mhm.
stories they got buried? Because I know my mother used to always say the Munros, the Munros, the Munros. And I was trying to figure out, well, what did the Munros do?
Mhm.
I was trying to get that story out of her. I think there was a lot of incest. We don't know what was going on. We can get to the 90-year-olds.
Right.
What are their stories?
Right. Exactly.
I'm just curious
Absolutely.
because this looks like it's been a problem for decades on top of decades on top of decades.
Yep.
Before Christ.
And it's gotten worse in time.
Exactly. It has been something that people have hidden under the rug. You know, they were used to say, don't discuss what's going on in this house.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And I can remember when I first moved to New York and I was working in the television industry, and I'll never forget, the stagehands and Italian. I remember this Italian guy bragging about having sex with his granddaughter. Let me get her before anybody else get her.
Mhm.
Wow.
And
But you know,
I'm
in
like,
some culture, that's what they believed.
and this
And
was in the 70s, and I'm like, wow. And I've heard stories of Jewish grandfathers
Yeah, absolutely.
where their whole thing is, I'm going to get her before anybody else gets her.
Mm-hmm.
so you could see what that do to the psyche of that person. How
Mhm.
it's the cause and effect. We see it going on and on. People want to identify it as so many different things, but there is some things to re-examine. And if you have elderlies that are able to remember and be able to tell their stories, because even if they're able to do that, that kind of take a burden. It's therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Right.